Shawshank Redemption. The movie starts with a man in court being persecuted for the killing of his wife and her lover. The man admits to the court that he found out about the relationship, and the wife was glad that he finally knew, as she was tired of the sneaking around and that she wanted a divorce. Mr. Dufresne told her that they would meet in hell before they got divorced. He continued opening up to the court, narrating that his wife packed her belongings and went to stay with her lover. He admits that he followed them after visiting some bar with a gun, intending to scare them. He denied the charges of murder, confessing that he was sobering up and threw the gun in the river on his way home. The court is not convinced, and the judge serves 2 life sentences for the 2 victims he killed. We meet Red, who is being assessed as he has served 20 years of a life sentence. They question him to see if he is a changed man capable of staying peaceful in the outside community, but they reject him after all. He heads out and meets his buddies, who ask him how it went, and he replied saying that it was the same bullshit on a different day. Red seemed to be popular as he supplied the inmates with what they wanted, given that it was within reason. The alarm goes off as new prisoners arrive. Red and his buddies place bets with cigarettes as the price on which prisoner, whom they called New Fish, was going to cry the first. Red places his bet on Andy Dufresne, as he seemed weak and appeared to be easily blown away by the wind. The warden introduces the captain of the guards, and he tells the New Fish that the most important rule was no blasphemy, and they were to figure out the other rules as they continued with their lives in prison. He asked if anyone had a question, and one man asked when they were to eat, and the captain butters him, telling him to get on his knees. They get washed up and given clothes. They match to their cells, naked as the day they were born. When the lights go out, they start to feel the New Fish in to see who breaks. The fat guy starts to cry out loud, saying that he wanted to go home, and the guards get in to stop the noise. The captain beats up the fat guy to serve as an example to the others. The next morning, the guy who won the bet was all smiling until he had that the fat guy died, as the guy bled death till morning, as the doctors had already gone home. Dufresne asked what the man's name was, and they shut him up. While in the shower, one of the inmates starts to approach him. Later in the week starts a communication with Red, asking him to get a rock hammer. Red asks what that was and what Dufresne wanted it for, and he tells him that he was a craftsman, and Red agrees to get it for him for $10. When the luggage gets in, Angie's delivery systematically gets to Red, and he gives it to an old man with books to pass it on to Angie. While he was working, he went into a dark room, and the leader of the gang, known as the Sisters, went after him, intending to rap him. It kept on going for about 2 years, until 1949 the government required volunteers to work outdoors for about 5 months, and Red and the crew, including Dufresne, were chosen. The guards were talking about how the captain's brother died worth $1 million, but he was going to see only $35,000. Dufresne listens in as the man complains about taxes. The captain holds him on the edge of the building as he explains to him how he can keep the $35,000 without taxes, and offers to do the paperwork for him, but it would cost the captain a beer for each of his co-workers. They drank, feeling like free men, as Dufresne wore a smile on his face watching the others drink, as he did give it up. He asks for rocks to sculpt the porns on the board. Red asked him why he did it, and he claimed he was innocent. At night, while he was caving, he noticed the wall had some names written on it, and he decided to write his own. He then goes to Red and asks him to get a picture of Rita. Red tells him that it would take a couple of days, maybe a week, but he would eventually get the picture for him. When he was getting out of the cinema, he encounters the Sisters, who force him to suck their dicks, threatening to put a screen on his head, but Dufresne tells them that they were going to lose anything they put in his mouth. They beat him up, and he did spend a month in the infirmary, and the Sisters' boss gets locked in the darkness for a week. When he gets out, he finds guards at his cell who beats him up to a point where he never walked again. The guys decided to do something good for Andy, and they decided to collect rocks for him, as he was a sculptor. Later that day, they got a big shipment with Rita's picture. The guards started tossing the cells looking for illegal substances, but they only found sandpapers. The warden looked at the picture on the wall and told Dufresne that he did not approve of him having the picture, but he could make an exception as he was good with numbers. The warden gives him the Bible back, telling him that salvation lies within. He later calls him into his office, and he gets reassigned to the library. The old man gives him a tour. The captain calls for him, and Dickens, an officer, wants to set up an education fund. He asks for a piece of paper and a pencil, helping the officer. While eating, he tells them that he wanted to expand the library. He approaches the warden and tells him it was a lost cause, but if he was willing to write, the warden was willing to mail them. They ignored him for about 2 years, and the library got so busy as Andy offered good financial advice and even had Red to help, as there was too much to be done. The old librarian Brooks gets a knife on Hayworth. He wanted to gut his throat out to get back in prison, as his day to be released is coming closer. Brooks releases his bird before he gets out. He finds the world had moved on as there were too many cars. They got him a job, but his hands were too old for the job. The man struggled in the outside world and decided to write his name on the wall before he hanged himself. The next day Dufresne receives a bunch of books for his library project. He gets excited to find a vinyl record. He puts it on, locks the soldier in the bathroom, and puts it on speaker for everyone to enjoy. The captain breaks the door. He gets sent to the hole for 2 weeks. While eating, he tells them that he got the music stuck in his head and heart and they could not take it from him. Red gets called upon after his sentence of 30 years, but he gets rejected anyway. Dufresne gives him a harmonica as a rejection gift. In 1959 the government secluded $500 just to shut him up. They expanded the library, and Andy and his friend helped. Dufresne helped the warden clean the money after he did the dirty business. Andy tells Red how he made the laundry easy by creating a man's paper without his existence. New fish get their way in prison in 1963. A young man explained how he got caught and how he went to many prisons. Tommy, the new inmate, approached Andy to pursue his secondary education. He started by learning the alphabet. Tommy starts to fumble after he finishes the exam, saying that he had wasted a year of his life. Tommy goes to apologize to Red as he feels like he has left Andy down. They start talking and Tommy asks what Andy was in for, and Red told him that Andy got his wife with a golf pro player and killed them both. Tommy remembers what a certain prisoner told him, that he killed the two and the case got pinned on the banker who was Andy. Andy goes to the warden and explains what he was told, and he starts to demand a new testimony. He mentions that even if he got out they wouldn't get in trouble for money laundering, and the boss gets mad, sending him to the hole for a whole month. Tommy's results get mailed back and the officer tells Dufresne that he got a C+ average. The warden later asks to speak to Tommy in the dark. The warden gives him a cigarette and asks if what he told Andy was true. And just after Tommy said that he was willing to testify, the captain shoots to silence him. He then visits Andy and lied to him that Tommy was trying to escape. Andy wanted to stop the operation, but the warden pushed him, giving him another month in the hole. Andy tells Red that he killed his wife by pushing her away but not pulling the trigger. Andy was worried if they will ever be free. He tells Red that he was going to go to Mexico's beach. Red was too optimistic about the outside world, not knowing if he would survive. He explains to Red where to find a certain spot where he buried something, and Red would know what it was once he sees it. Red and the others start to worry about Andy as he was acting suspiciously. Later that night Andy did the routine and the warden left him in the office, instructing him to shine his shoes to look like mirrors. He did so and went to his cell. He had a rope in his hands. Andy was stressed, thinking that Andy was going to kill himself. In the morning they all line up. They call out Dufresne, but he was nowhere to be seen when the warden was about to wear the shining shoes that Andy was working on, and the alarm goes off as he finds out that Andy replaced his shoes with his. They head to Andy's cell, and they try to question Red, but he had no idea. While he was ranting about how it was all a conspiracy, he hits the picture on the wall which had a hole behind it. Red explained how Andy got tired and decided to escape by drilling a hole in the wall for over 20 years and using the shitty pipes to escape. He then went and withdrew all the money he laundered for the warden with the persona that he created. Red finally gets released after serving 40 years of a life sentence. He goes and finds money under the oak tree and flies to Mexico, where Andy told him he would go. Thank you for watching. Kindly remember to subscribe, share and like for more entertainment.